Hello and welcome to the New City Podcast, where we exist to renew the Quad Cities by restoring the health of its people. I am Jarek Bakken.
I'm Dr. Alex Agwell.
Principle today is the human body needs to enjoy food regardless of nutritional value on occasion in order to survive and thrive. The fact that this is a principle of health already raises all kinds of questions. How is this a principle of health?
Yeah, it definitely would not be a principle of health if it's taking out of the context of being part of a set of 5 tenets on nutrition.
True.
So you definitely have to look at it as that. But it's a principle because primarily for us, we believe that, number one, that health is not the only part of life that is important. Number two, even within kind of the overall philosophy on health that we have, that nutrition is not the only part of your health that is important to focus on. So when you think about how you are going to, your diet, what food's going to look like for you, if you were stuck in this way of only having to think about food as far as how it nourishes your body. Like I used to have one of my mentors in chiropractic, when he would do like his nutrition talks, one of his famous sayings is, I don't eat to enjoy food, I eat to nourish my body, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. But basically he was saying, stop complaining about not being able to have something, because why we eat is to nourish our body. It's not to enjoy food, or it's not to bring us pleasure. So we would reject that
completely,
and we would probably say that it's not necessarily the most important part of it. Nourishing your body definitely is a primary reason to eat. Otherwise, you're not going to survive nor thrive. But we would also want to bring in this enjoyment piece. So that is why it is a principle for us.
Yeah. So even with that statement, like. If food is not to be enjoyed, right? We're rejecting that, and we think there's tons to be enjoyed here, and we'll get into that. But one of the problems, unfortunately, is that yes, people have taken the enjoyment of food, something that we know to be good and true about food, that it should be enjoyed and that it is delicious in lots of different forms. One of the problems that we're actually pushing against, and honestly why we have this in here, is people have taken it way too far to think that it's all about how amazing and wonderful things can taste, and that is the pursuit, and if that is the chief pursuit of how we deal with food, we end up in some bad places.
Right.
But we include this in, this idea of enjoying food, this idea of doing things regardless of nutritional value, we're including this in our principles of health, basically, so we can say something about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
To not be delusional and think that, everybody who talks on health and nutrition and has something to say about what human beings should be eating, we don't know of many other people who actually talk about a principle like this. Actually, any other health conscious, health focused people talking about food, talking about nutrition, who are saying, hey, actually at times you need to eat the bad things, and that's not even necessarily what we're saying here, but not even leaving any room for any deviation away from, their MO.
Right.
We know that that's not we know that that's not how they're living life.
Right.
Well,
it probably is part of what they teach, but it's taught in a way of, this is how you should eat. We probably know you're not going to do that 100% of the time.
Sure.
But then they refer to that as cheating, or kind of moving away from what you should be doing.
Right.
Where we're trying to say, well, no, this is actually what you should be doing, keeping it in alignment with, kind of our overall philosophy on health and how to get the body surviving, thriving.
Right. Yeah. And yeah. So it's like instead of saying, hey, here's our plan and you should stick to our plan this percentage of the time, right? I think what we're doing by saying this is actually putting our hand over this area of life too, right? If it's the 10% or the 20% or whatever, and we're saying, hey, no, like there's actually something to say about this stuff too for your nutrition, for your health overall. We don't want to just say this is kind of like outside the fold and, like let's minimize that. It's like, no, like this is a part of life too, and we can have something to say here.
Right. And this probably is one of the I guess, principles that probably brings out our difference in just overall worldview. Meaning, like most of the people that I learn from a health standpoint have a completely different worldview from me. Meaning that they would think that that we evolved as human beings from we were once fish and now we're humans. So kind of everything that then they would point health back to that, saying, well, this is kind of how we have evolved, and then now we know that where we're at in that evolutionary process is this is what we should be eating to stay healthy. What's kind of belongs with that worldview is that there's really no purpose to anything in life. We would reject that. We would not say that that's happened. We would say that we have been created and they're created with a purpose. So one of those purposes is to enjoy things of life, and food would be one of those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, we want to nourish our bodies. That's kind of ingrained with how we were created and how the world was created, but enjoying things is also part of that.
Yeah.
So we can't take food out of that. So that, it's kind of, I guess maybe one of the first times that our kind of worldview comes out here, is we want to nourish our bodies, but we also want to enjoy how we're nourishing our bodies. And even at times where we're not necessarily nourishing our bodies, we would want to only do that when we are enjoying that particular food. So the principle is not eat food regardless of nutritional value on occasion.
Yeah, right.
It's enjoy food regardless of nutritional value on occasion. And we'll get into that a little bit as we kind of talk about how we practice it well. But yeah, that's, I think, important. You can't take this individual principle out of context of what we believe about nutrition. You can't take that out of context of what we believe about health. And you can't take it out of what we believe overall, kind of how the world works.
For sure. And it's great because, like, enjoy food. We think that's a good statement anytime, right? Even with the real food, right? Like, we can enjoy food. So even different from the opinion of, like, eating good food has to be just, pragmatic and that whole philosophy. We think that real food can be enjoyed and really delicious. But even on top of that, like, there's so many, every word here is intentional, right? Every word here is placed very specifically.
Right.
Enjoy food, regardless of nutrition, on occasion, right? Like, there's lots of different layers here.
Right.
Cool. So I think that makes a pretty good case for why this is a part of the principles. What does this actually mean? What's this mean? What's it look like?
Yeah, so there's things that we at least consider food, and back to our discussion about real food versus this kind of processing of food, of moving things away from their original state. So these would be where things like donuts and pizza and ice cream and cookies and all the baked good things. This would be where all that stuff would come in at, because you're somewhat stepping away from our main principle of giving the body what it needs and stay away from what it doesn't, at least from the aspect of the food that you're putting in your body. we know that's going to happen. And like you mentioned, this is at least allows us to talk about that. But we also believe that because of various other reasons, that there's times when you should actually do that. But it also, like we just talked about, is when those times come up, this on occasion thing,
Yeah.
make it something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Don't just do it to do it.
Right.
That's not what it means. It doesn't mean we know you're going to eat bad food, so just do it and call it part of the plan. No, we would say be strategic about this.
Right. The what's funny? Enjoy food might be the most important part of this.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
The fact that like we're talking about a pleasurable situation here, like might be the most important thing and the biggest thing to be like specific on is that we want to do this and talk about this because of the benefit of this, right? And so it's like this. It doesn't even necessarily mean this has to be, not real food. Right. Doesn't mean this has to be something that's going to be really bad for your health, right? Like, so kind of getting in a little bit of some practicality here. Like, I have a lot of restrictions and limitations on like what is just even on the table for me to eat at any time, regardless of nutritional value, like, or in regard to it. Like, there's lots of things that are just completely not even on the table for me, right? But I can do things to enjoy, like, basically everything that I'm going to be doing is going to be like real food, but doing it regardless of its nutritional value simply means I'm not necessarily taking into consideration, oh, am I getting enough protein in this meal? Right. Oh, like where's the leafy green vegetables? Where's the micronutrients? It's like it's placing the enjoyment of the thing above anything else. But like for me, I have to practice certain other things in addition to this that make it like nothing I'm going to be doing is necessarily that bad, right? But it's like, we're not saying you have to eat a Snickers bar,
Right.
like,
right. Yeah, definitely not saying that. We're not saying, back to the whole cheat concept. We're not saying, hey, you have to, just to keep your sanity, you have to cheat sometimes.
Right.
We're saying this is going to happen. There's things that happen in life that we believe are healthy, right? So there's going to be times where either you're with somebody or you need to celebrate or that's what's available, whatever it may be. There's going to be times where the food that you are eating doesn't have the nutritional value. It's not giving your body what it needs. It's not staying away from what it doesn't. But we're saying what's more important than that on occasion is just enjoying the food that you're putting in your body.
Yeah.
Right. So it's much bigger concept than just having a cheat meal or however you want to phrase that.
Yeah.
We're not saying you have to even. We're not saying that maybe there's a big chunk of your life where you aren't going to experience those things. That would be another conversation probably. So we're not saying find ways to get this in. We're saying this is going to happen. Let it happen. But when it happens, be strategic, enjoy it. That's the important thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to point out. Is like how much this differs from maybe what people think we're saying because they've heard other people say something similar, right?
Yeah.
So kind of juxtaposing it with this idea that like you're going to need to cheat or go off the rails at some point. It's like, no, we're actually rejecting that, right? We're rejecting that, you need to this fulfills the desire or the need to do something like that.
Right.
And you gotta find where this is gonna fit itself in. The cheat day, the cheat meal, whatever it is. Yeah, that's not what we're trying to say here at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like this kind of plays into multiple other principles, and like the good application of this principle really pulls in some of these other things, like the aspect of healthy relationships, the aspect of expressing healthy emotions, the aspect of having not just times of work all the time, but having times of recreation. When we do those things well, this is one of the things that we understand that humans are kind of brought together by food.
Right.
And so to practice those principles well, this is like kind of going hand in hand with a lot of those things. So when we start to look at practicing it well, it's like this idea of enjoying and celebrating could potentially be a principle on its own.
Right.
Like that's where I think this finds its best place.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think you can make an argument for just even historically looking at the way people have eaten for thousands of years, like we referenced, but even people, how they eat now. I mean, there's not a culture in the world that doesn't eat with other people. You don't eat by yourself
Sure,
all the
yeah.
time, So like even when food was more scarce a long time ago, and there would have to be like whole tribes or civilizations would have to kind of be hunting and gathering their food, those type of things, or farming their food, there would still be these amazing feasts that they would have when the harvest would be there, when they would actually find an animal that they've hunted. So there would be celebration over food. It wasn't just primarily to nourish. Yes, it was. They needed to find animals. They needed to hunt. They needed to gather. They needed to farm to nourish their bodies, to sustain life. Mm-hmm. But there also was this combination of celebrating and eating together, enjoying company. So yeah, all those things kind of go in, and this tries to bring all of them in together with this one principle.
Pardon the interruption, folks, but I need to tell you about a phenomenal free resource we have available to you. It is a fantastic resource on how to fight COVID. Dr. Alex took our philosophy on how to obtain health by giving the body what it needs and staying away from what it doesn't, and applied it directly to this issue and crisis of the coronavirus. The media's been telling you there is an invisible enemy surrounding us that you should fear because it's capable of wildly destructive things. We do not believe this is the way life is meant to be lived. We also believe that winning this war against the invisible enemy is far more about how happy, healthy, and strong we are as people, and less about how dangerous our enemy is. If you can get healthy, you can have the confidence to start living life without fear of this virus. We help people work towards health every single day, and we want to help you too. Just go to newcity.fitness/COVID for our free resource on how to fight COVID. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. So it's like, I think one of the big things that we are saying here is that this principle is applied with intention. Well, this isn't like a justification for it's 10 p.m. I'm sitting on the couch and watching a movie, and gosh, I could go for some food right now. This entire gallon of ice cream is in the freezer. Let's go to town on it. 20 minutes later, shoot, I've got all this guilt for what I just did. Oh, but remember, on occasion we should eat with disregard. That is not proper application of this principle.
No.
Right? So, what does it mean to apply this well?
Yeah. So when we say on occasion, we keep referring to being strategic about it. We would want to save these particular times for a time where you're going to be with other people. Especially if you're going to be with other people who don't necessarily eat. They've never heard our principles, or they
Sure.
don't necessarily care about that, but you want that relationship to be strong. You want to have, you want to be able to gather together with people. So kind of reserving it for those particular times, that would be an occasion. And then just celebrations in general. So like one of the things we do that's kind of just become something that happens, it seems, is when somebody has a birthday at our gym here, they bring something that we normally wouldn't be eating, right? So they'll bring donuts, they'll bring some other type of treats. So somebody from the outside coming in and looking at them, man, I thought you guys were all about health. And then there's donuts sitting there after you work out. Probably a little weird for them, but that would be an occasion where what is the most important thing? It's to celebrate this person, and it's to enjoy what they've brought, right? Be thankful for what they've brought. All of those things we would say are more important than whatever it is that you're actually putting in your body at that given time. So that would be, we just experienced Thanksgiving. I used to, at my office, I would have whole workshops to teach people how to basically not destroy their bodies over Thanksgiving or the holidays, which I think is still important. But my philosophy there has radically changed, so now people are, that have been my patients for years are probably surprised when they ask me, I still get this. So you probably didn't even eat turkey over Thanksgiving, did you? And I'm like, no, I ate the same stuff that you probably ate. Why? Because this was a time where I was celebrating. I was gathering together with people. Yeah. This is food that they brought, that they spent time, in with love, made for the family, for the people that were gathered. I'm going to enjoy that particular food. Mm-hmm. No, that doesn't mean that I ate everything that was there.
Sure.
Some of it.
There you go.
I wasn't going to enjoy it if I ate it, right? So I didn't apply this principle to everything that was brought. But yeah, that's what we mean by on occasion. That's what it looks like practically, is figure out times where you're celebrating, where you're gathering, where you're with other people, especially in indulging in this.
Yeah. So even in that, right? It's like even in the situation where you knew that it was a time to apply this principle, it still wasn't like just free reign, go to town on all of the things, right? You just said there's still stuff that you didn't partake in because you knew you weren't even going to enjoy it, right? Like you don't have to eat the bread or the pasta or the cranberry sauce Jell-O concoction because it's there and part of the meal, right? It's like that's not what this is saying, Right. If you go to somebody's house and they, like lasagna is not something that you're going to enjoy, but that is what they made, like, okay, that's a little different scenario, They put it on the plate, you're going to eat it, right? Mm-hmm. We're saying let there be kind of some freedom for that situation, right? But not this isn't just license to go haywire,
right?
Right. Yeah. What other parameters should be around this?
What other parameters? I think people sometimes get confused by just on occasion, or even some of our other principles when we say most of the time. Mm-hmm. We kind of are leaving
some interpretation.
Yeah, right. There's some freedom there to decide, because I think everybody's going to be different in that way, and we've discussed that and some of the other principles of how some people just have more resilience, or some people can just based off of either genetics or just how healthy they are, can do more, have more freedom to move away from the principles. But the on occasion, somebody who is gathering together with people more often than others, somebody who has a lot more to celebrate, than others do. Somebody that is just going to other people's houses more often, if that's kind of just how their lifestyle is set up, then their on occasion is going to be different than somebody else's on occasion. So it's tough to say, why we didn't say you should enjoy food regardless of nutritional value 5 times a year. That's not what
Sure.
we can't say something like that, right?
Yep.
But I think you do have to just be honest with yourself and kind of put parameters around stuff that you've been referencing, as far as, this doesn't just give you a license to go do whatever you want. So if you feel like that's happening, then now that's where kind of some guardrails need to be of, man, I've really done this a lot this week, or I've done this a lot this month. I really need to make sure that I'm not just kind of falling off the rails here, and I actually am I'm applying this principle in the right way, I guess. So that's kind of what I would think of when thinking about parameters.
Yeah, right. So, and part of this is like, it's absolutely going to be specific to you and really specific to, certain goals that you have, right? One of my, and then part of it is going to be if you are trying to line certain things up with goals, like there's maybe even going to be some trial and error with it, right? So one of my nutrition clients, we figured out that, it was like a few weeks in a row, every weekend there was, this event or that event or whatever, and just kind of figured out that, hey, actually every weekend is too much.
Yeah.
Kind of set off the rails, starting to not feel very good and all this stuff. It was like, great. So let's set a new parameter around at most every other weekend, right? Something's going on, right? So then it's like, we're also not even saying that you can't be in a certain situation, right? Like a party or whatever, and dare we say, make other arrangements for what you're going to eat, right? Like, if you know that, shoot, I, went out with my buddies last weekend and really enjoyed that time, and now, 1 week later, hey, if there's this other birthday party or whatever, I'm actually going to make the decision not to eat the cake, right? Like, we're not saying you can't do those things. We're saying, like, we got to be more thoughtful about all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So the last thing I want to get into here is how to practice this well, in the sense of the pursuit of the best, right? What does it mean to be pursuing the most enjoyable foods?
Yeah. So if we continue to talk about, this isn't just a cheat thing, right? We're not saying you have to just go find any food that's bad and eat it just to stay in line with the principle. We're saying find times where you can really enjoy food. So part of that means that the food that you're actually eating is going to be something that you're going to enjoy. Now, it's not always going to be like that. Like you referenced the lasagna thing. Maybe you hate lasagna, but you're ever at somebody invited you over and that's what they have. But when you get to choose when you do this, we would want to have the food that you really enjoy, right? So if ice cream is the thing that you really like, then don't just, go and grab a Hy-Vee brand of ice cream, unless the Hy-Vee brand of ice cream is the one that you enjoy. We would say, why don't you figure out what is the best possible ice cream that you can have in whatever area you live in, and that's what you want to enjoy, right? If burgers and fries is something that you really enjoy, well, if you're going to do that, then definitely don't go to a fast food restaurant and have that. Go somewhere that has the best burgers and fries, whatever place that you actually enjoy. So just kind of looking for all of these things that would be in this category of, this isn't something that is in alignment with the eat real food most of the time. This is stuff that isn't really nourishing to my body. I'm going to figure out what the best possible place is that provides that to me. and maybe that's just you making it. Maybe you make an awesome cheesecake or something.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
So it's figuring out what is the best source of whatever food I'm going to be eating.
Yeah.
That is something I'm going to enjoy, and not thinking about how it nourishes me.
That's what's funny is that I've kind of realized that with basically I don't think there's anybody who makes an ice cream that I can eat anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, like I'm gonna have to, and I've done this before, but like I'm gonna have to start getting really good at making ice cream. Yeah, but what I like about this, and this is revealing of my personality, is it kind of now allows you to like gamify this a little bit, and it's like now it's kind of a pursuit of what is the best, right? So it's like now it can be kind of fun. Like if you do enjoy a burger, like great, on nights where we're going to celebrate and enjoy food, it's like we can have like this new quest to try the best of the best and see, where is the best burger in town,
Right.
or go down the list, whatever it is that you're enjoying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just gives more purpose to what you're actually going to do. I mean, it should be enough that you're, especially if you're like doing a date night with your wife, then that's important enough to go and enjoy your time and wherever you're going to eat. But if now you can add to it, hey, let's actually go make this a quest to figure out what the best stuff is in the area that you live in, then now I think it becomes even more enjoyable. So all that fits within this principle.
Yeah.
Which is why it's our favorite one.
Yeah, like there's so much here, and it's we don't want to cut this short because a lot of people hear this and think, this is just right, the license to eat the pizza, the cookies, or whatever. But it's like there's actually a lot more going on here, and we can like really dial this in.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Cool. Any more to say about donuts and ice cream? Pizza and tacos?
Yeah. Well, I mean, donuts is definitely my thing that I go to here typically, but I also enjoy ice cream. So we've done some of that. I mean, my wife and I have kind of done some of that searching that you have talked about, where we have our places now that we like. So I guess we're getting closer to being able to follow this principle in the right way, I would say. But it's a continued quest to figure those things out. And obviously there's going to be new things that come up all the time. So we don't want to limit. I mean, just even think about that. Like, let's say there's this awesome place that's been started where we live in the Quad Cities, and you were just staunch about nutrition. And you're like, I could never enjoy something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that would just be...
Yeah.
That's a miserable life, I would say.
Yeah.
To think that, this is something that was, some hard work was put in, some imagination was put into that. Somebody has a gift that they're trying to use and bring to the world, and you're just going to reject it because it's not in alignment with nourishing your body. We would want to be able to enjoy that and to celebrate, the gift that is. So searching those things out is, again, something that is part of this principle, and it's something we'll continue to do. For sure.
Definitely. And it's like the practice of doing that actually, continues to refine this, because if you have been to all the ice cream places in the city and you know which one is the best and you enjoy the best, right? And it's like then when opportunity comes up to do something that is not the best, it's like maybe that gives opportunity to refrain from that, knowing that you're going to enjoy the other one way more.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. All right, folks. Go forth and enjoy food regardless of nutritional value on occasion so that you can survive and thrive.
And don't be afraid to invite us along when you go and do that.
Amen.
Folks, thank you very much. If you can hear my voice now, this means that you made it. You did it. You listened all the way through the show. You didn't shut it off. You didn't stop it. You're probably sick of me by now, but shoot, I owe you a thank you. This is a quick reminder, if you missed it earlier, there's a great resource available to you. Go to newcity.fitness/COVID. Download our free resource on how to fight COVID. We made it for you. We want you to see it. We think it'll be very valuable to you. That's it for now. You can catch us on Instagram and Facebook, join our group on Facebook. And hey, if you're ready, you're like, I don't need all that other stuff. Just let's go, let's get started. Great. Go to newcity.fitness/start. Schedule time to come in and talk to one of our coaches. Until next time.